Hi everyone, my name is Marcus Spitz, and the topic I've chosen today is why we need prison reform and why it is important. So let's get started. So to understand the argument for prison reform, we need to go over a few points first. Anyone can go to prison. Doesn't matter if you're white, black, Latino, any of those races. You can go to prison no matter what you do within the American prison system. And no matter if your crime is something simple as stealing Pampers for your baby or robbing someone at gunpoint, the context and the interpretation up to the case is up to the judge and the jury, no matter what it is. Now, the most important thing with prisons is, do they actually do their job? The repercussions and the aftermath of prisons are what people look at when we talk about the argument for prison reform. Now, are prisons supposed to be rehabilitation centers for nonviolent offenders, or are they supposed to be confinement centers no matter what you do? Let's look at this basic statistic. 148 adults, according to the OJP, or the Department of Justice and Bureau of Statistics, or sorry, I got that wrong. The Bureau of Justice. Now, when we look at this basic little graph over here, sourcing from International Center of Prison Studies at King's College, for every 100,000 people in America, there is around 750 inmates. Look at this compared to the rest of the world, like Spain, UK, Italy, Greece, France, and Ireland, Belgium, Netherlands, and Germany. They all have under 200, with the highest one being around 170 for Spain. That should raise some alarms with a lot of people. Now, one of the biggest topics with prison reform is the over-criminalization aspect of it. So when we talk about this, we need to go to the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1986. Coming from Palsa, arrest rates for marijuana possession are 4 times as high for black Americans as they are for white. Black men spend on average 20% longer behind bars in federal prisons than they do their white peers for the same crimes. This doesn't make sense. And if you look at a statistic and you say it's not racist, you are wrong. Now, harsher punishments don't exactly correlate well when it's something that's non-violent. Rehabilitation would be way better because someone who is into drugs and everything is more likely to go back into drugs if they aren't helped or if they don't get into that mindset of, oh, I want this to stop. All prisons do is reinforce and hammer down that horrible lifestyle that people choose to live. Now, something that's also pretty pretty horrible is that alcohol actually perpetuates violent crimes more than drug-related crimes. This is coming from Douglas Husak, who is a justice philosopher and author. Now, a lot of countries have gone into decriminalization and the decriminalization and outward production of these products such as marijuana. Now, we can look at the UK to Czech Republic, Portugal, and Netherlands and see that once Portugal decriminalized a huge amount of money that has gone into putting citizens into cages was freed up, it enabled the government to provide meaningful treatment to people who wanted it. And so addicts were able to turn into non-drug users and usage rates went down. Now, when we look at this, we go into that study, there is a lot of like mixed results, but generally they are all positive. This would lead you to believe that prisons don't exactly work. So why do we have them? So let's look at this. The US state and federal prison populations. Down here you see, oh, this is probably just a lot of violent offenders, right? Oh, look at this big spike increase once that law goes into place. This is because we are imprisoning people just for minor drug possessions. And it just so happens that those minor drug possessions affect minority communities a lot more than they do their white counterparts. Moving on, we have the disparities within the prison system. Excuse me. Now, if you say this is a black culture issue, you are racist. This is not a black culture issue. This is just what happens when you redline locations and don't invest in them. People want to get money no matter what happens. Now, if we go back in history a little bit, 1910, 1920s, we can look at low-income white, Jewish, and Irish areas. They were rampant with crime. So this already knocks out the black culture argument because that's really stupid. We don't talk about that. Now, education inequalities within the prison system are very, very big. If you go to college, you're 4% likely to land in a prison, 20% for high school, but these rates are 6 times higher for black populations, and even more so, or a little bit less so for Latino populations. Black unemployment rate is 2 times more than white folks, Black poverty is also 3 times more than white folks. This is the same for Latino populations. I forgot to just put that on my slide. But these disparities cause people to go to prison more because they need to provide for their family. They need the money. Now, look at this quote. Comprise 30% of federal black folks comprise 30% of federal and 46% of state inmates, even though they only make up 12% of the population at the time of this. This was around the 2015 study. Now, while Latino people are 28% federal and 17% state. This is coming from Winslow at the Gale Institute. Now, these massive prison populations are only because these people are trying to get money. And when you can find these people and you don't rehabilitate them and give them classes and things that they need to actually become successful members of society, that is called negative reinforcement. It only reinforces them to stay in the prison, in that lifestyle. Looking at this like little excerpt right here, who is most affected by school to prison pipeline? People that go to school. These schools are funded due to property taxes. So say you live in the ghetto or just these unbuilt up areas. The schools are going to be bad. They're not going to have the resources to get the kids out of that lifestyle. They're not going to be able to like show these kids that there is something else rather than the drug gang around them or the violent acts that they see on the day-to-day life. Moving on. Now we have what I call the PIC, or the prison industrial complex, and the issues with prison and capitalism. So America is comprised of a lot of private prisons. I don't know the statistic. I should have probably grabbed that. But once you are in the prison, you become a ward of the state. You lose your rights. They can do whatever they want to you. It's horrible. So the vast majority of those who enter the prison system are already extremely poor, like how we talked about the disparities. 3 times more likely for Latino, 3 times more higher unemployment rate, and 2 times higher poverty rate for Black communities and Latino communities. A 2015 report by the Prison Policy Institute found that median income for individuals pre-incarceration was at $19,000, or 41% less than non-incarcerated people for similar ages. This is going back to what I just said about the disparities. So when you're in prison, they can make you do work for 10 cents to 2 cents, 10 cents, or just a very, very small amount an hour. This is borderline slavery. This is modern day slavery. And they want to perpetuate this by keeping these centers as confinement rather than here rehabilitation. So, adding on, with the recent COVID regulations that have probably gone down by now, but were very rampant within 2020 to 2023, there was things such as ebooks that the prisoners had to pay for because they removed the libraries and just hardback and just paper copies of books within the prisons. There was also, if you wanted to see your loved one that was in prison, you had to pay for a video call already on top of paying for phone calls as is. Now, the issues with fixing the system is if they fix the system, they lose their slave labor and they lose this free labor that they're getting from these people, essentially for dirt cheap, and they're making them do a lot. There is California, for example, that uses prisoners to fight wildfires while promising them if they go into these dangerous jobs, they might have their prison sentence lowered ever so slightly. So my concluding paragraph is, in conclusion, to the American prison system population is very corrupt in nature. Not only does it target people born into poverty, but it also reinforces that they stay in poverty. This is going back to the disparities, the PIC, capitalism, and everything vile. The ideas are proposed, they are ignored because if they were to fix the issues within the system, that their free slave labor goes away, as I said before. There are many more things wrong with the system, including the education system and how it ignores and demonizes impoverished teams. Going back to that little infographic with the the prison school to prison pipeline. That is very big and it is very real, and it happens every single day. The current prison system stands because it supports and gives the vile capitalists a profit for free. No need to pay someone they don't classify as a person. This is a topic I feel very strongly about, and I want to see it changed. Kids don't deserve to live like this, and they don't deserve to grow up like this. These are all of my sources that I got from the Gale Institute to the Bureau of Justice, Labor and Statistics, um, opposing viewpoints, and just these are all of my sources. This is a topic I feel very strongly about. Thank you for listening. I hope you all have a great day.